Buenos Dias Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. With that mentality, it's real shit. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Like a motherfucking ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Baya, orale, baya. As you can tell by that thumbnail right there, yes, indeed, I wrote graffiti all over the bus, indubitably. I'm going to bring to you one of the realest, newest guys on the YouTube scene, man. His channel's Boom Bangling, man. I fuck with it. You got to fuck with it. Make sure you tap in. Handz from Renegade Media, man. Whole different lane, different flavor, same old love song. You know how we get down, man. This man is bringing some of the most in-depth prison stories that I've heard in a long time. And, you know, real recognizes real, still sharp and still. So I know when I seen this guy hit the scene, man, the world was going to shake, man. Third wish to rock the world, but not on the SPM shit. You feel me? Anyways, without too much being said, man, I want to introduce Mr. Handz from, of course, Renegade Media. How you doing, brother?
Blessed, man. I'm thankful to be here, man. It's a pleasure. I look forward to the opportunity, and I hope everybody else here can go check out my content, you know, and just help me out. And I'm gonna just talk about stories that everybody wants to hear, and I'm gonna answer questions that everybody wants to know about. I don't hold back. Just honest and authentic.
Absolutely, brother. That's what I love about your channel. Is not only is it real, in depth, and authentic, but it's your story. You know, it's your truth, and that's the only way to give it to him. Give it to him raw doggy, man. Don't let him ever get you up out of your comfort zone. Just give the people what you know and what you've been through. You know, be as real as can be, man. Be consistent, and you're doing that, man. And I commend you on that one. So I wanted to get down to finding out who Handz really is. I know on your channel you're going to go further into your stories and you're going to express all about yourself. And for those of you that don't know, how did you get started in the gang life, bro? Let them know where you're from. What intrigued you into this gang life, and kind of how it went from there.
All right. I was raised on the east side Tulare, California, and honestly, I'm not gonna do the cliche saying that I'm a product of my environment, because I was raised by a single parent, a mother. I was just intrigued by the lifestyle. I used to grow up watching, you know, Tales from the Hood. I grew up watching Mi Vida Loca, Blood In and Blood Out, and the gangs were in my streets. My mom did her best to keep me away from it, but I was just attracted to it. I like to fight in school. I'd be a third grader trying to punch on my schoolmates just because I thought I was cool for no reason. And my cousin was a gang member. He was from SF at the time. Rest in peace, the one I rap about. And he knew once I grew up that that's where I was going. So he didn't even try to stop the inevitable.
Yeah.
The more and more I hung around him, the more I wanted to wear his clothes, and I wanted to sag. I wanted to wear the red. Then he was the first person to introduce me to the GUN CD before I heard about Northern Exposure, and I was hooked like a fish. I was like, man, this is what I want to become. I started seeing all my older homies that were just looking at me like a little mocoso, like, get your little kid out of here, man. He don't know what he's getting himself into. But I was like, I would not leave the block. I would be like, no, I'm gonna be here. I started wearing my red rags like them. I was just fascinated through everything that I've seen through movies and on the streets. Like I said, I don't come from that environment. If everybody can tell you, Eastside Tulare is a nice neighborhood. It's not really like gutter related and looks real ghetto. It's a nice neighborhood. They just gangbang. And my cousin was the one to finally say, like, are you sure you want this, bro? I don't think you know what you're getting yourself into. And I said, yeah. And so he took me to my neighborhood, introduced me to my big homie, rest in peace, Vincent Uranga. And Vincent was like, all right, you want to do it? Okay. He introduced me to the older homies. But he always told me, though, he's like, hey, make sure you stay in school, man. Do something with yourself, man. It's not all like what you think it is to be. But I took it a whole different route. Like, I was watching Blood In and Blood Out, American Me. I was like, man, I want to be that person one day. As ignorant as it sounds, I was like, I want to be that person. I want to be the big homie. So I did everything I could within my power to try to make a name for myself. I didn't care if it was hitting somebody with brass knuckles, fighting at school, fighting every Southerner that I possibly could, until that one charge came up and I wound up going to CYA for beating up a Southerner at an indoor swap meet with a baseball bat. And then my life just took its toll from there, man. But honestly, bro, I was just fascinated with the lifestyle. Nobody really influenced me to do it. I influenced myself to do it.
Absolutely. So 90s era. I like to speak on the 90s. I'm a product of the 90s environment, right? Yeah. Lived through it, did that, and that's what it is, right? That will forever be what it was. You growing up in the era, Tulare County, what was the atmosphere like, north and south, or just gang related? Period. I know that you have a lot of Asian influence there. I know there's Africanos that are there in Tulare County, not as much so per se as raza, but what was the atmosphere? Was it hardcore gangbanging, or was it just here and there, or catch you slipping, or what was the scene?
It was hardcore gangbanging for Tulare, because Tulare had wicked ass sureños, and they were deep, and honestly, they weren't punks, and they had the Trejo brothers. You know, Matthew Sanchez was turned up. I mean, these kids really took gangbanging to heart, so they gave us a fight. They gave us a run for our money. But it wasn't until when the Operation Black Widow was kicking in, we were already committing red on red amongst the East and West for a long time, for years. But when Vincent Duranga died by a West Sider, is when gangbanging took a different approach towards us. We didn't really care about the Southerners. We were too busy killing each other. Absolutely. And then, I mean, I used to get jumped a lot on the West Side because I lived on the West Side. I lived on Elm Street, and I used to go to Mulcahy School. So not only did I have the Southerner faction there rushing me, but I had the West Siders jumping me as well. Yeah. So the 90s to me, that's just Tulare. But Visalia, you had the Northside Visa going at it with the OTs, the Asian gangs. Because Visa has always been a city where there wasn't too many Southerners like there is today. Yeah. And in every other city, it's always been red on red. I can tell you that right now. We've always had a complex towards one another. Every city thought they were the big and baddest, but at the end of the day, Visalia's always ran Tulare County because that's the biggest city in Tulare County. That's the era that I grew up in. We were fighting each other red on red because the that filter didn't come out until after 2001.
Yeah, and El Norte Law. So when El Norte Law came out, ceasing all red on red activities, did you guys adhere to it? Meaning, did you guys say, okay, this is what it is, we're going to cease all hostilities towards each other? Or was it kind of still like, shit, if I catch you slipping, it's on the cuts?
Nah, up until 2005, even when I started working for the regiment, it happens. We just learned to keep it behind the scenes. But in Tulare, since Vincent Uranga was a great individual, he was well known, he was beloved by everybody on both sides. His family were West Siders, and he was an East Sider for my hood. It kept going. It kept going up until 2003 when I finally got out of YA and we finally put a end to it. When a lot of the big homies started coming out, like the homie Beto and everybody else, Boxer was coming out. My boy, rest in peace, Steven Mraz came out, and they were like, "Look, we got to stop this, bro. The homies in the pen are pissed." And we finally put an end to it. But once I paroled to like Porterville and I was kicking in with Porterville and Lindsay, the fighting was still going. It's just it wasn't being reported.
Yeah. You know what's always tripped me out about Tulare County is one of the most well-known and established carros in Northern California. Meaning that Ranfla right there, all the way from back when I was in YA with Little Man from Tulare County, Batman from Visa, several individuals from that area, Cuate from Poros, who you know of, Oscar.
And Little Man.
Little Man, yeah, all those guys. Rest in peace, Little Man. Tulare County was always a very close-knit car, which trips me out that a lot of these cities gangbanged on each other and went at it, had animosity because they were so close of a Ranfla. Like Tulare County always had their own stilo. One thing I could say about Tulare County, maybe you could express it and explain it to me, because I've always wanted to ask someone from Tulare County, what was the difference? Whereas in the Bay Area, there's a certain stilo, low hyphy, a little urban. You go further in the Central Valley, it gets a little bit more cholo, like in Merced, yet we still had that flavor. Whereas in Tulare County, it was more cholo, that old lowrider, suspenders, Dickies, Benz. Was there a lot of that? Did you see a lot of that growing up?
Yeah. You believe it or not, a lot of my brothers out here on the streets, we were stuck on the interstate pants and the corduroys. We loved the Ben Davis. We were adopting a lot of the LA style, but mixing it with a lot of the Northern California flavor. Yeah. But in reality, as all the fighting, it doesn't matter. That was still our style, because we felt like to the homies up north back in the day, we were considered down south. So that's where we adopted the style. Like, well, we're going to act like we're from down south, but we're still up north to the south, but we're still Central Valley. We're the Valle. So we're going to just adopt our style. Like, no, we're not going to represent up north. You don't want to hear a lot of homies from Tulare County say they're from Northern California.
Let's say from the Valle. Central Valley.
We're from the Central Valley. We take pride in Central California. So we had to adopt our own stilo, because once we go to prison, the homies from Northern California didn't look at us a certain way. They didn't look at us like we were part of them, and the Southerners looked at us like we were from up north. So we had to mix both styles and come together with something that belonged to ourselves, that was unique. and that's why
Yeah.
we did it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I've always wondered, and I've known. You know, I said Tulare County always rocked different. They were more pachuco, more old school, more cholo style. But the wiggle was real. You know, so you go to YA, you get caught up, you go to see YA. What was the atmosphere there for you? I know back in my days it was gang banging. I was north and south to the fullest. How was it for you? Where'd you go? What institutions? And what was it like your first day landing there?
Well, I went to the in Sacramento, the reception
NRCC.
NRTC. I went there for
Yeah.
a little bit, and they told me I had 13 days to get off on a Southerner. So I was
Yeah.
like, I could not associate with the homies until I got off. So I did it within 2 days. I just had to find the first one that was my size, not too many, because I was like 5'2", like 120 pounds when I went to YA. I was
Yeah.
a kid. So I found a dude that was my size. We fought. I was good. Then I got
Cool.
transferred to OH close. I had to do the same thing. I
Mhm.
fought the same day, right then and there in that dorm. But one of the homies that used to lace me up was also from Merced.
Yeah.
And he was a big fat homie, and he was cool. He used to just tell me, "Hey, bro, don't indulge into the YA games because they're gonna play them on you, bro. Just be better than that, but you gotta stick up for yourself, bro. Nobody likes no punk." But in YA, where I was at, no ways close, the cars were divided.
Yeah.
They used to have 40831, which was homies from San Jose, and in the Monterey area clicked together. Then you had TKC, Tulare and Kings County clicked together. So it was always that set tripping amongst ourselves. But when
Yeah.
it came to the enemies, like Southerners and Bulldogs, we'd fight them when we had to.
Absolutely. It was the same thing when I was there. But we called it City Vida on Fameros, and it was basically Central Valley on back where Fameros, Bay Area, Sacramento on up where City Vida, X5ers versus 14ers. So you do your YA time. How long did you do in YA?
The first time I did a good year and 2 months. Then I got out in 2003, 2004. I went back to Tulare. There was a lot of the structure from the prison system was coming out there.
Yeah.
So I started getting involved little by little, but I also started using drugs. So I wasn't paying too much attention to the street regiments. That's when my boy Steven Mraz and David Coronado, they used to always be on my bumper. They used to be like, "Bro, you're messing up, bro. You're not following the rules." But I didn't know nothing about no rules because in YA I wasn't following rules. I was taught I was taught to be like rebellious and just stick up for myself.
Absolutely.
And then I wound up going back for I shot a school bus with a 20 gauge single shot through the gun. Think the homies pick up the gun. So since the witnesses didn't testify, I wound up getting a year and like 6 months just for gang activities. And I went back to YA and paroled in 2005.
Okay.
That time I went to Gladiator School. I went to Preston.
Preston. I've been there, man. Cedar and then Tamarack. I know you've seen some Tamarack, some of the
dungeon. Bro. I hated Tamarack. That's
the dungeon right there. I did all that, bro. You know what I mean? I did that back in 93, 94. So you transition from YA as you're getting indoctrinated in YA, because I know there was a lot of autos there that there were street regiments and a lot of structure, like you said, in their cities. So I know you guys were talking about it. You might not have been implementing any of the bonds or any of the rules and regulations, but you guys definitely were talking about it. You get out. How'd you get affiliated with the homeboys that were really doing that thing?
Well, one time was because they had through a meeting one time, and I already had been causing a lot of ruckus on the streets with the homies were going at it with some Puerto Ricans. So I stepped into the mix. I wasn't even from Porterville. I'm from Tulare, but I was living out there. And so I decided to jump in. I was like, man, I got you guys, bro. And I had access to a lot of guns. And I put in work with the homies. So I go up there and the homie Wicked comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, bro, the homies want to know if you want to be on the squad." And I'm like, "Squad for what? What the hell's a squad?" And then he breaks it down to me and he goes, "When you sign this paper, you got to put your phone number, but you got to answer the phone at all times."
No.
I was like, "All right, I'm with you. What are we gonna be doing? We gonna be robbing stuff?" Because I was already committing my robberies at the time. I was like, "Yeah, I'm down for it," and I signed. The next meeting that showed up is when I finally met Bubbles, and I was like, "Damn, that's a big ass dude." And he showed up, and then a couple other people showed up. You know, Baki showed up, and then I watched the stilo change. Like everybody went quiet, everybody stood up straight. One of the dudes that I used to fear the most, that used to always put me in my place, was Kukui from Porterville, from VCP.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched him, stilo change, and he was like the hardest dude I met as a kid. When I watched his stilo change in front of these guys, I was like, man, these guys got to be somebody in particular. But
Yeah,
I didn't, like I said, I didn't know too much about the politics because I was in and out of YA. And the only time I ran into the bonds and the format and the historia was from stealing them from a gang coordinator in CYA.
Yeah.
So I was reading in it, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, yeah. You were just, you seen Northern on it, and it was like, okay, man, this is us. So you get involved, and we're not going to get into the details of things that you guys did, man, because that's not to be told, right? The game is not to be told nor sold when it comes to that. It's best to respect it. You get caught up, your first prison term. What happens, bro?
Well, it's been my first and my only. I got wrapped up because my co-defendant decided to run a red light using my car when I was trying to hit another bank robbery, and he comes to my house and he hops my fence, and I see him. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And I looked at my wife at the time, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And then the cops came because he went on a high speed chase and brought him to my house, and they busted me with 4 guns, the ski masks, money. And they took me in and they questioned me, and I wound up getting convicted of second-degree armed robberies. There was 4 of them that they actually could pin me to. The rest of them they didn't have a case on. I got caught with a Mini 14 with a 30-round clip, a couple of 38s, and a 12 gauge, and that's when I went to prison for my first time. And I paroled in 2020. I did not come in. I wasn't the type to go in and out. I had to do the whole 15 years straight
because I kept the whole stretch.
I kept catching time. Every prison I went to, I kept catching time.
So you get there. What reception did you hit?
Delano.
So yeah, that's your area. You hit Delano. What was the atmosphere? How were you feeling your first day there? I know for me, going to prison, I kind of just, I was laced up. Merced's highly functioning. So we already knew what time it was. And being in YA for 7 years, I kind of knew what time it was. I kind of just kept my eyes open, my ears open, and my mouth shut, and just went with the flow, right? How was it for you getting there? Initially, what'd you see? What was it? The clearance process? What'd you go through? Take us through that.
Well, my situation is kind of different because when I was on the streets, a lot of big homies were pulling a lot of those youngsters, and I wound up getting pulled through Bubbles. He was being my padrino with 2 sponsors and a couple of homies from Vice that pulled me.
Okay, so you were already that one, yeah.
So in county is when I got all my training, but that was when I opened my eyes, like, what the hell did I get myself into? They didn't teach me none of this on the streets. They didn't even tell me I was going to be doing none of this. I thought I was just going to be like a little goon to go kick a door down, go rob a store.
This is when they forwarded you your education bundles. You started doing the 7 phases. You started to become indoctrinated and educated into what it takes to be an soldado, right?
Yeah, learning how to create COCs, weaponry and warfare tactics.
Establish yards.
Leadership positions. And I was like, damn, I got to memorize all this? So it was a 9-month transition from the county to the reception. So I already knew what I had to do when I got there. So I didn't have to report going through the whole clearance process. I only had to go through the clearance process of my ensoles, my fellow brothers, my hermanos. Once they cleared me, then I started talking to the homies that were in the back trying to shoot kites, and that's where I got my responsibility. So I didn't really have to go through the northerner phase where the 30 days process.
You bypassed that because you were already pulled.
Yeah, I bypassed a lot of it.
Yeah,
so I didn't get that experience, bro, to understand, to do the bare minimum, put my back against the wall.
Yeah.
As soon as I sat down at that desk, I had to start Xeroxing.
Yeah, right. Immediately, you got to start establishing and seeing who's what, seeing the roster, and so you get to, where do you go from there? From Delano?
I go to SAT FC yard.
SAT FC yard. My brother was on that yard.
Very
vicious yard.
Yeah, man. And then I walked right into a damn war zone.
Yeah, very vicious yard. And what was it there when you got there? What was the make of it? You know, I mean, I know they had north south there. Bulldogs didn't function on that yard. But I know as far as north and south, what was it like? Was it a respect tip, or were you guys going at it, or what was the scene?
The whole time we were on lockdown. It was lockdown. Remember back in the day, they were doing like 2-year lockdowns.
Off top. Yeah.
So I went like maybe almost 8 months on a lockdown, just talking to the brothers that I knew within the section, keeping in touch with the ones in the other section, and shooting my kites out whenever it was possible. But it was a war zone. We were going at it with the whites, and I can't really identify this group because I don't know which one they are particularly, but I know a lot of them. The 2 dudes that I wind up fighting on the tier had Aryan resistance tatted across their backs.
Yeah,
so I don't know what clique that was at the time.
More than likely U.S. skins, which there was a lot of them in that area, in that whole particular area. So you guys are going at it with the whites. You guys are on lockdown. somewhere along the line, you're seeing how the homeboys are functioning. How was the functioning going on there? Was it righteous? Was there some cutthroat shit going on? What made you kind of look at the cause and say, you know what, hey, what's going on here?
Or nah, that didn't happen until way later. And remember, I'm still going through my learning phase.
Yeah.
So whatever's being taught to me is what I felt like was proper education and was right and what was necessary. So I didn't see the flaws in none of it until I started getting to years down the road when I had to start making the decisions. And that's when the conflicts of interest come between ranking members. Right then and there, I was still learning. And you're talking about the first 8 months of my prison term, I'm just prepared for war. I'm just at the door every day waiting for the door to pop up.
You got the flame burning in your heart. You're with it. You know what I mean? You're with it. So let's fast forward. You go through, and there's so many different situations I'm sure in 15 years you went through, and we'll save those for your channel, of course. That's your content. But let's get to about the timeline, man, where you get into some type of conflict, or how did it go about where you pulled away from the Norte, or the Norte pulled away from you? I like to say that they walked away from me. I didn't walk away from them. Yeah. But that's not the way people see it. So kind of what happened? Take us through just a little bit of that.
But in all honesty, this is when I seen that we were being a little bit careless and we weren't as structured as I thought. This would be a good one to share with you. It was when I went to out of state Arizona, and there was a lot of hermanos there. We're all from different parts. I'm talking about there was at least 9 to 12 of us. Mm-hmm. But an NF sleeper came through from the feds, got dropped off in the States to finish his Fed time, and he wound up going to out of state. And he was like, bro, I'm not even supposed to be here. I don't even know how I'm going under the radar. But there was a conflict through me and him when I finally found out my cellie had to tell me, because my cellie had more rank than me, which people don't understand that even though we're considered all equal, if you have more years as an hermano, you still outrank the other hermanos that have been lower years. You're
exactly. Everyone's the same status, but seniority put out there. It's seniority.
Seniority. So my cellie was like, look, bro, we didn't want to tell you, bro, because we're trying to keep him under the wraps, but that's like bro. And I was like, oh, my bad. I'm so sorry. Like the story I tell about him is like, you'll understand why I was like, my bad. I didn't even know, bro. Nobody told me. My cellie had gave me the keys to that yard at the time, and he goes, you need to learn how to be part of the authority in charge and be at the highest positions, bro, because you need that training, bro. When you go back to Cali, it's going to be different. I said, okay. But it was the jurisdictional points. Since we were out of state transfers, California had no jurisdiction. But you got a lot of the C's trying to contact us, kind of contact me. But then you got the feds trying to contact me and like, no, you need to report to me. The Californians like, no, you need to report to us. That's not their jurisdiction.
You were stuck in between that state fed faction beef. Yeah.
Well, that was one of the charges that got me removed, is because I was freelancing, because I didn't know who to report to. And I talked to Chente that had the streets of Salinas at the time,
Monterey County. Yeah,
Monterey. I talked to him, and he was like, "Look, let me get back at you. I just got out here. I'm barely getting into the workings of it. I'll get back at you." Bubbles was already getting caught up, so Bubbles like, "Bro, I really can't answer you right now. I got my own problems going on. Just figure it out. Figure it out." I was like, "Damn, bro. Like, who do I turn to?" So I asked this sleeper. See, I'm like, "Who do I talk to, bro? Like, who do I report to so that way I'm not freelancing?" He goes, well, the homies in Arizona and the feds are telling me to write to them. That's where I just came from, but I'm under California jurisdiction, so I still have to report. I still have to go to the SHU. So I got stuck in a bind. Like, well, nobody's gonna tell me nothing, bro. Then I'm just gonna continue to run the program how I see fit until further notice, till somebody finally reaches and say, no, this is my jurisdiction. I'm the regiment commander. Yeah. But by that time, I already went out there for 2 years, and through that 2 years, it's like an absent trail of paperwork that nobody knows what happened. No money was being sent back to no Cali prison, no federal prison. So I got charged with freelancing because all that money was supposed to go to them. No report, none of the removals, nothing. So I got buried for that.
Well, you became a pawn in a chess game, man. That's still ongoing. And it's unfortunate. There was a lot of norteños, a lot of hermanos, man, that at that same time that went through some of them same struggles, bro. Not knowing who to turn to, And of course, you're going to be a man. You're going to establish the yard the way you establish. That's your duties. That's what you signed up for. Everybody knows that. But at the same time, bro, everyone must report to somebody, And for those that don't know the what we're talking about, man, it goes deep. It's prison politics. It's not for everybody, but those who have lived it know what we're talking about. And it's best to keep quiet. So anyway, so you get do you get deemed and removed, or do you get off, or what happens?
No, I wind up I got caught with a weapon because there was a riot that took place in Oklahoma with the Sureños and the cops.
Yeah, I remember that. I heard about that.
They beat up the cops bad, and I got caught with the banger in my pocket because I was going to chow hall with bangers. All of us had to be strapped because we were still pre-establishing those yards, so everything was tense with us in the South. And so I go to the hole. It takes me about another year to transfer back to California, and I end up back on Sat FC yard. My cellie clears me, which he was the authority in charge, but he also says, "Hey, bro, you're kind of pending investigation, but they didn't say put you on freeze." And I was like, "All right." He goes, "So it's gonna be a long process, but we're gonna keep you close to us. We're gonna keep you close by. You're gonna hold the higher positions. You just can't hold the AIC position until further notice." I said, "All right, I got you." So it was like a whole year process of them questioning me. But you remember, we're writing through letters, so we're coding it, and so communication kind of sucked. And the only time we'd hear from the back is when somebody got out of the shoe. So I was floating in the air for a long time till they finally created a decision.
It's kind of hard to live like that because, any day could be your day, one way or the other,
There was a point in time I got comfortable where I was like, I got into my head a little bit. I was like, man, they ain't gonna touch me. I've done too much. I've done a lot that I haven't illustrated it on my platform or nobody else's to show like, man, I've kept these guys fed. I did what I had to do. But at the end of the day, everybody's expendable.
Like I know, man, there's no one man is untouchable. You know what I mean?
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, you'll learn it the hard way. So did they move on you, or did you feel it and get off, or how'd that go? And I don't want to get too much into it if you're going to speak on it on your channel. Just a quick light note.
My celly got on me. And then I tried to lie about it to the cops and signed the chrono and go back. They let me do it the second time, but as soon as I got upstairs, my celly, that I guess he was either, like I said, working out a bird bath thing. Yeah. He was already told to take off on me. So we started fighting on the tier, and he tried to throw me off the tier, and I held the bars like this the whole fight. I didn't even fight to do it. I just held the bars. Like, I didn't want to get thrown off the second tier. That's pretty high.
Hell yeah.
So he beat on me pretty good. He left my whole face right here swollen. And he just got a battery on me, and that's when the administration says, "Well, look, man, that's not once, but that's twice, bro. So we're not gonna put you back there."
Yeah, and I've told people several times it's, people automatically assume, and that's where that stigma comes. Oh, PC checked in. No. When you're removed, man, the Blackers know everything that went down, who was involved, why it went down. They know more than we know. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna segregate you. They're not gonna keep sending you back to a yard because that's a detriment to the safety and security of the institution. Period. They can care less about you. It's the safety and security of the institution. They don't want to do paperwork,
Nah, but a lot of people have won lawsuits against the prison administration for allowing inmates to go back to mainland.
Exactly. And that's why everything comes into play there. They have to do what's best for administration. Yeah. So they'll segregate you. They hit you with the chrono and 812, the guy you got in a fight with, and that's it. You're on the enemy list. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time. We might have to do a part 2 one of these days. And I know you're going to speak a lot on your channel, but I kind of wanted to get into what I know the questions everyone's been asking, because you're from a movement. You find yourself, okay, you're on the other side now. Whatever yard you're on, that's your business. You're on the other side. How do you get involved with the Northern Rider movement?
Well, in 2011, my cousin got killed on the streets by the homies from my own hood for not paying NF taxes. My cousin's never been to prison, so he didn't know none of the politics that I knew. And I wasn't there to lace him up, and that was my fault. But he got into a bad situation where he got divorced and he went back to the streets. He needed to make some money. So he knew what to do. He knew his best thing to do was to sell some dope and get on his feet. And they tried to tax him, and he didn't know nothing about NF territories and NF properties. So he was like, I ain't paying these youngsters nothing. Well, they wind up beating them and shooting them. That's when it was already around that time when I was getting removed, not even 9-10 months later. Yeah. Once I put 2 and 2 together in my head, when you're lost in that transition, going from active and SNY, not only was I lost, I'm losing my whole career over a couple of charges that could have been avoided over them believing my explanations, to man, my own people just took out my own cousin over some stupid tax that he had nothing to do. He was just trying to raise his kid and get his kid a fucking Happy Meal. And put those two together, you develop hate. So when I crossed over to the other side, I looked at the movement as they're against the Northerners. Once I joined,
being oppressed.
That was my purpose. I was like, I'm gonna join this one because now I got hate towards this group, and I'm gonna come home and I'm gonna cause ruckus. Yeah. I'm gonna utilize this title and believe in this belief system due to the anti-bullying and oppression belief system that we incorporated. I'm gonna come at the Northerners.
And it was in the beginning. In the beginning, the Northern Riders were founded on that. They were founded on being rebellious and going against anything active, you know.
But once I learned to grow up and I actually understood my belief system and know that it's not even like that no more, I started to change as a man and as a person. Like, you know what? I'm not gonna go out there with a gangbanging mentality. My cousin did lose his life. Them individuals are doing life for it. There's nothing I could do. I need to better myself in a way that I got to live double lives. I got to live for my cousin that's in that grave now. So I got to live 2 type of lives. So I got to go twice as hard as I ever can. Absolutely, and I know at the end of the day, my cousin wants to see me successful, and I hope he's proud of me, and I hope he's looking down at me that I'm making a change for the better. I also tell my brothers out here, like, look, bro, we're not gang members no more, bro. We left that shit on the main line. Come out here and get a job, bro. Come join these unions. Come join these $20 an hour shifts. Go learn how to drive a truck. Go
get a bag real quick.
Man, what do you want to be in that cell for?
Come get a bag out here instead of waiting on the store to get that brown bag with a few sopas, huh?
Bro, we're not gonna go out to these streets and take over these streets. Let them have them streets, bro. I want to be in a company office. You know, I want to wear a suit. So that's the message I'm trying to use with this platform, is YouTube. Like, look, bro, we can make a change. We can make a difference. We can stop being looked at as trash, basura, PCs, drug addicts. Let's become men, the men that we're supposed to be.
Absolutely. I agree. 100% agree. So here's a couple more questions before I let you go, brother. I know I'm taking your time. You got shit to do. One more question right here is, what gave you the idealisms or the go to say, you know what, I'm going to establish a YouTube channel. I'm going to tell my life experiences. Is it, you know, a lot of people say positivity or to help the youth or to do this, but let's be frank about it. Everyone has a hidden agenda behind it. Everybody does it for one reason or another, whether it be money, financial, it's therapeutic, whatever it may be. What gave you the made you that final decision? You know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put my face out there. I'm going to do my thing.
Well, it was to do music. Mm-hmm. You know, for my music, my catalog, J Handz, and the one that's what I'm gonna do today, 59J. It was just to do music, but I noticed I wasn't getting a lot of support from everybody. It was just mostly the gang culture, my playboys, and a couple of Northerners here and there. But like, I like it. It's pretty good. It wasn't until I started beefing with Snoop when Snoop outed me, and I just spoke up real quick, like, bro, I'm not gonna let you become that person, especially towards me. I never let you before. You're not gonna do it now. Well, everybody got intrigued. I started seeing my channel go up in numbers. And I was like, what's going on? And I talked to a couple people, and everybody's like, they want to hear your story, bro. They want to know. Everybody wants to know who you are. At first, I was in for it. I was like, bro, why is it? Who cares? Like, my story is no different from the next man. I'm no different from the next man. It's just prison stories.
Absolutely, yeah.
So then, in the back of my head, I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. And but I also wanted to lace my playboys up. Like, look, bro, you guys are men. We're all equal. You guys need to stop looking forward to this leadership. And start just being men. Don't let this man incriminate you and get you placed back in jail, bro. For all my boys that are out, it's time to live our freedom and enjoy our freedom, and and turn for the better, bro. Let's stop going back to the old ways and the old habits. That was the prior message until I started seeing everybody started asking me questions, and I started answering them. So now throughout every day, I look at my YouTube and like, man, how am I gonna benefit from this? But also, what message am I trying to send? Because YouTube's a powerful source. But so the only thing that makes a YouTuber is the audience.
Absolutely.
So I gotta factor in what they want to hear and what message do I want to send that's positive, that they will support me as. But at the end of the day, I'm just doing this for fun. But now that it's getting serious, I also wanted to turn it into a business so I could start doing like short film documentaries, interviewing people that have stories like mine. Because I'm not the only one. You're not the only one. Nobody else. Yeah. There's a lot of men out there who deserve a platform to speak up and say what they've went through. So that's my plan. That's my plan.
Absolutely, man. Again, man, this is Jay Handz from Renegade Media. Make sure that you guys tap in. One of the hottest YouTube channels cracking right now. I see a lot in your future, brother. I want to bring you back on here pretty soon, man. Again, maybe I could do a special guest appearance on your platform one day. We can make that happen. I look forward to working with you, Holmes, to better your channel, better my channel, to better the raza. You know what I mean? We always have a message to put out there. And as long as they're susceptible to it, we're going to keep spitting that real. You know what I mean? So with that, bro, you got anything to say? Any shout outs, any love, any respects, anything, bro, before we get up out of here?
Yeah, man. Just want to shout out everybody that's been supporting me. I appreciate it. It's been meaningful and it's given me a greater purpose out here to look forward to and wake up every day to. One life, one chance, like my cousin said before he died. So we only got one chance to do this right. Let's get it done.
Absolutely, man. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. I hope that you get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about struggling and striving for your familia. Get up, get out, and get something. Get off your lazy ass and say, get the fuck to work, right? Make it happen. You know what I mean? Do it swiftly, Blue. You feel me? Orale, lacra. Anyways, with that being said, man, if you like this piece, hit that thumbs up. If not, you can hit that thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears this crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle for what I truly believe in, and that's the coming together and betterment of all people. Fuck the oppression. It's time for progression. We're going to get ours, and in that fashion. Again, Handz, I appreciate you. Tap in Renegade Media. Go fuck with it one time for your mind. Gracias. We're out, homie. That's right, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it.